Hello, I'm your host, Austin Lake Coppernoe, back here today with our next bit for Lake Camera Action, an exclusive Eagle Post production. Today we're going to be doing a new topic kind of segment called Hot Topics, which is something that we're going to be carrying in for the next few weeks. We're going to be having guest hosts, and then we're going to be going out in the field and interviewing people with the exact same questions to discuss more broad topics about cinema and film in general while addressing the opinions of MG staff and students. And so here today I have Mr. Cry with me. Thank you for coming on the set, Mr. Cry.
Thanks for having me.
Our topic today actually is going to be 3D films. And so we're just going to talk in general about 3D films. Is it adding to cinema or is it taking away from it? Is it really worth it having 3D in movies nowadays? So first I'd like to ask you, Mr. Cry, you're a very opinionated man when it comes to 3D movies. I asked you about 3D movies kind of in our last bit for Oscar Picks, and you were very strong in forwarding your opinion about how you didn't like 3D in movies. And so I wanted to ask you particularly why you don't like 3D movies or why you think it takes away from it.
That's a good question. So I haven't been to many 3D movies, but I don't think they add anything that a regular movie does. I've been to a few, and albeit not the best 3D movies, but I don't think, I think there's an added entertainment value, but I just think if you want to see stuff in 3D, you should go see a live production.
A live production?
A live production.
Like a
because
theater.
those people are in 3D.
Uh-huh. Well, that's very true. I mean, at the same time, I totally agree with you. I am not big on 3D. It's just, I feel like it's more of a marketing gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
They are allowed to hike up the prices. They're allowed to draw you in with this big 3D technology, this new thing that they're apparently adapting quickly. But I don't really think that they're working on it as hard as they could, and I don't think they put it out to their full potential a lot of the time, because a lot of the films that they do 3D with are just half put together films. They do the 3D conversion later. They don't really put a lot of effort into the 3D component, so they don't make a lot out of it. So that's just my opinion there. I guess the next question that I had for you is more, do you think the demand of 3D is kind of increasing at this point or shying away? Are we kind of moving away from the 3D technology, or are we still developing it at this point?
I think they're going to stay. I think movies that got a lot of positive reviews for their 3D, like Gravity, will keep it around for a while, and hopefully there's one movie a year that has positive reviews for it being 3D. I dislike having to wear glasses. I dislike the size of them. When I take my 9-year-old daughter to some of the cartoon or the animated films that are 3D, those don't add anything. I think those are what you're referring to. They just throw the 3D in so that 9-year-olds think it's cooler. But a lot of times, even the smallest ones don't even fit on her head. So she's sitting there holding them for an hour and a half. I think they're here to stay. It'll be interesting to see if they go beyond what they are now. When I was growing up 20 years ago, I remember going to Great America, and they had an IMAX theater, which was a cool, and they are actually still is cool if it's done correctly. But those were hot for a while, and they're still around, but they're not the primary place people go for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how 3D movies will go. Is they're going to stick around, but I think they'll lose their luster after a while, and they'll still be put out. But I don't think people are going to flock to see movies in 3D.
Well, I very much agree with you there. I mean, like you said, there are movies out there that have that appeal, like Gravity and The Hobbit most recently. But some movies, they just throw it in there, and it's just like things flying at your face as part of some stupid little money maker where they can say they put 3D in and didn't really attempt it. And I think it all comes down to whether or not they actually shot with 3D cameras and actually tried to make it a part of the film instead of just an add-on later. So
Yep. I agree. Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I think the purpose of 3D, what some of them try to do, like in Gravity, is they try to make you part of the movie. You feel connected to it, and you feel part of the scenes, whereas so many of them do not. And I think that's where, if you go to a production like a play or a musical, I know our school goes to American Players Theater, which is actually where I grew up, and maybe opinionated about this. To see something done live, you have to remember those people have one shot to do it and to do it well. Whereas a 3D movie, those people had 15, 20, whatever, 30 takes to get it how they want it. I think at a play or a live production, you do become part of the surrounding of what's going on. You feel this connection, and you get to see people's reactions to things. You get and you just get to see their. I think you get to feel and see that emotion more than just a 3D.
Glasses that just make you nauseous.
Glasses
or
that
make the screen darker.
That just do some things to entertain you. I don't think there's a connection, a personal connection at 3D movies like there is at a live production.
All right, well, I guess the last question I'd have for you is, do you think that it's fair for theaters to kind of do that price hike that they do of like $3 or $4 or something like that for 3D movies?
I think they're going to do it to cover their costs and to make some additional cash, obviously. I think if 3D, if it starts to lose its luster, they're going to have to lower their prices. They're going to keep the prices at what people are going to pay. And I think right now people will keep paying that. It'll be interesting in a few years what happens with the supply and especially the demand of them. If people are like, it's not worth to pay that extra $5, $6, $10 to see a movie in 3D. So, whether or not it's fair, not my call. But I see why they have to do it. So.
All right, now we're going out live to show you the opinions of certain MG staff and students out in the field.
I think it's helped some films, like watching action films in 3D can be really cool, but when they're just kind of dull films, I think it kind of really doesn't do anything for it. Like when there's cool things that like pop out of the screen, I think that's really cool, but otherwise it really doesn't do much.
But I would think that anything that would enhance your visual experience would be a positive element.
Actually, I'm not a fan of 3D film. I find them difficult to watch and sit through. So I don't know, I suppose there are some people who believe that it's furthered film in general, but I'm going to say that it really hasn't done anything for it. I don't know that it's taken away, but I don't feel like it's really done anything for the experience, for me anyway.
Well, in my limited experience, probably maybe a little bit of both. Some movies look pretty good on 3D, but other movies hasn't made much difference, I don't think.
I think possibly, it depends on what you're going for. I think if the cinematographer really would benefit from it, if it's something that would really do well with 3D, I think it could definitely help it, but I don't know, I think there's kind of that classic element to that. It's kind of sad when it's lost at times.
3D films make me a little bit nauseous, so I'd have to say no, but I can understand how they make people feel like they're part of the story more.
At least the few 3D things I've seen, first of all, kind of make me nauseous. And second of all, I think sometimes they're just like looking for things to throw in that are 3D. They're not actually like advancing the storyline or really changing the way you view the movie, just having stuff jump out at you and make you flinch.
It depends. I mean, I would imagine that the films have to use different technology. Also have to keep we have all the 3D glasses. So there has to be some sort of cost to doing those things, and that's probably why it costs extra to go and see something in a 3D. And so again, some films are really effective in 3D, and you get a really different experience than you do just watching it on a two-dimensional sort of film. Depends on why we go to see films. Do you go to see it for the story, or do you go to see it for the special effects? What's most important to film goers is what's gonna make money.
Not really, because it's not like the theater really has to put out too much more. I mean, they have the little plastic glasses that everybody steals, but for the most part, it's not like the movies really, it's not like you get a better chair if you're in a 3D seat, or you're not like
watching a better movie. You're just watching a movie that has a better technical aspect to it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's extra experience. It's a enhanced experience. Some, like I said, some movies don't really need it, so it's not really worth it. But I can see the reasoning for it.
I kind of think it is fair to charge extra. I personally think theaters are a little overpriced currently compared to what it should actually be priced, which is probably about half of what they actually charge you. But I could see 3D being a little bit more expensive because it costs more to make and there's all that film technology and a lot more. You have to pay more people to go over the 3D and make sure everything looks good, and it's just a whole other aspect to it. So yeah, I can see charging a little extra for 3D.
I don't. I think they already charge a ton to go see a movie, and I think it's becoming cost prohibitive for families. So if you want people to continue to go see movies and not just use Netflix, you need to keep the cost reasonable. So unless you're going to lower everything, I don't think you can charge more for 3D.
I think if they cost more to produce, they should cost more to see.